vandalism. The week before last, Bayside Dart Station was vandalised during the night time to such an extent that it was out of action for a number of hours the following morning. There is vandalism which has occurred at Holt Junction Station and at Kilbarrack. I heard today that Irish Rail are considering removing their staff from Kilbarrack and turning it into an unmanned station because of the levels of vandalism that takes place there. And this causes people to have a certain amount of fear. They won't travel late at night on the Dart, particularly women, you know, if you're getting off at an unmanned station. That there is a real fear there, and that there is a certain vulnerability there for people who use public transport at night. And I'd like to know what kind of strategies the Gardaí have to deal with that kind of situation.
Can I just add a supplementary to that, if I may, Deputy? Just, it was reported recently that some members of the criminal fraternity were using public transport to avoid road checkpoints and stuff, trains in particular, mainland trains. So you might maybe link the two of those together. Thank you.
Thanks, Deputy. I think Deputy Kenny makes an interesting point, because certainly crime, vandalism and antisocial behaviour in general do have an effect and do increase fear in communities. And maybe specifically just dealing with the Bayside and Kilbarrack issues, maybe I'd ask Assistant Commissioner Toomey from the City, from the DMR, maybe just to deal specifically with that issue.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we have a number of operations that we run over the course of the year with the various public transport operators, be they Bus Clea, Bus Éireann, Dart or Lewis. And we have targeted operations where at different times of the year we will have members of Garda Síochána on public transport working very closely with their own security people to provide that and to support them. And indeed, we've had a number of very successful operations where an issue arises and we target that, and they have been quite successful. Similarly, we will work with management of each of these groups in terms of their crime prevention. We will assist them in what crime prevention measures they have at their stations to help with that. The specific incident that you mentioned out in Bayside is being investigated, and it is hoped that the people involved will be brought before the courts in due time. So we deal with it from a number of ways. We deal with the individual incidents as they arise. We'll investigate each and every one of those, and then we work with the operators at a more strategic level in terms of planned operations over the course of the year, and then helping them with the crime prevention of the various different stations and how we can assist with that. CCTV is obviously one area that we would focus on with them specifically.
Okay.
Just a supplementary to that, in relation to the Luas, you mentioned the talks we're having with the operators of the Luas. There is a particular problem on the red line from the point to Tala, and particularly during the tourist season when people are coming and going by train from Houston Station, there is pickpocketing, quite a serious level of pickpocketing takes place on that Luas. And the Luas itself lends itself to that because it's so easy to hop on and hop off. Whereas at other types of public transport, the person has to enter through a gate or get on through a door of a bus or something. So there is a particular vulnerability there too, and I was wondering if there are any particular strategies to deal with that kind of pickpocketing.
Yeah, again, we have a specific policing operation with Lewis. We meet the operators on a regular basis, and we've had a number of very successful operations over the last 12 to 18 months targeting specific issues as they arise, and some of them have been very, very successful in terms of antisocial behaviour on the Lewis lines. I think there have been considerable improvements as a result of the cooperation between Garda Síochána and Lewis operators.
My last question is in relation to antisocial behaviour in housing estates. I'm thinking of housing estates in the Dublin 17 area. I attend the local joint police committees, and they play a very valuable role. But there is still a particular problem in housing estates where there is maybe low-level antisocial behaviour, as well as the kind of behaviour that's related to crime and drugs. But very often people are forced to leave the area, go and seek accommodation, or move out because of the ongoing low-level harassment, abuse, children afraid to go out to play, all of that kind of stuff. That continues, and it has a very damaging effect on communities. And you get a certain type of area where people are afraid to go to live there because of this kind of pattern of behaviour. And as I say, I do pay credit to the Gardaí in that particular area. But I think that there is a need for some new strategies to try and deal with it.
come in on there and ask about ASBOs and the use of them in relation to the Deputy's question? Yeah, Commissioner.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Certainly, we would work very closely with the local housing authorities and the local authorities in terms of addressing antisocial behaviour issues in particular, because it is, and we've certainly recognised it's very disruptive to individual families, but also to communities, and it creates a sense of fear, and also, so we would engage at a strategic level with the local authorities, but also at a local level with the local communities, and attempting to address those, and we would have a number of initiatives in place. But certainly we take on board what the Deputy is saying, and we will look at that specific area and see if there's more we can do. We would use ASBOs in terms of particularly around antisocial behaviour issues, particularly around teenagers and young people, and also in terms of invoking public order and the Criminal Damage Act as well, dealing with issues such as have been described.
You might send us a note on that, since there's just the number of ASBOs that have been used in the last while, and maybe the effectiveness of same at some stage, something we'd be interested in. Thank you, Deputy.